Hi, I'm Casey Marshall, and I'm one of the educators here at Historic Arkansas Museum. Today, I thought I would read a story from one of our loan boxes. This is Charlie Needs a New Cloak, story and pictures by Tommy Paola. Charlie was a shepherd. He had a cozy house, a big hat, a crook, and a flock of fat sheep. But everyone said, "Poor Charlie. He really needed a new cloak." So in spring, Charlie sheared his sheep, washed the wool, and carded the wool to straighten it out. Then Charlie spun the wool into yarn. Charlie wanted a red cloak, so he picked some pokeweed berries during the late summer and boiled them over a fire. Then Charlie dyed the yarn red in the berry juice. After the yarn was dry, Charlie put the strands on the loom. And every fall evening, he wove the yarn into cloth. Charlie put the cloth on the table and cut it into pieces. He pinned the pieces together and sewed them. And then, when winter came, Charlie had a beautiful new red cloak. Now, that's really the story, but I wanted to talk about a couple of things and some terms that were used in the book that you might not have recognized. For example, when he's talking about shear to clip the wool. A shear looks something like this. It's like a giant pair of scissors, and what you would use is kind of like giving a haircut, but for a sheep. So you would cut the sheep's wool, not the skin. There's a little layer in between. So I love this little demonstration. It's a sheep. Did you know that sheep have a zipper right down the middle? But in all sincerity, you would cut the edge of that line and cut along certain areas until that wool, quite literally, would just about peel off with a little help from the shears. And you take the wool off the sheep. And that's what's called a fleece. So you could take your wool. This is a very, very clean sheep right there. When it comes off the sheep has been running around, so it's not always clean. Usually it's a little bit rougher. Looks a little yellow in some places because sheep live outside mostly, and it's got its little thing. So when you wash it, it comes out good and clean. And then it looks more like a cotton ball. Looks a little bit more fluffy. What you can do is you can take this and he spins it on a wheel. But if you start twisting and twisting and twisting and twisting and twisting, that's what a spinning wheel is for, it'll start going into yarn. And you can sew that yarn into different fabrics. One other term he used that you might not be familiar with is a crook. When I think about a crook, I think about an old cartoon movie and the crook's the bad guy. But no, when they're talking about a crook with a shepherd, it's kind of like a long cane. It's a little bit longer than a normal cane. It's usually a staff, and it's got this hook on it, so you can grab the sheep by the neck and move them over, or just nudge them to the left or nudge them to the right. And it's to get the sheep's attention to help the shepherd move the flock where he needs to as a group. Now, I hope you enjoyed today's story time, and I hope to see you again soon when we can all be together here at Historic Arkansas Museum.